Okay, we're going to talk about another concept from Chapter 3, and that is those factors that shift the entire demand curve. We've got a long list of them here, 6 of them, and we're going to start by talking about the prices of related goods. The prices of a good that's related to the one that we're examining the demand for can cause a shift in that demand. So let's talk about a couple of examples here. You know this, in kind of common sense English, as substitutes and complements. A probably pretty good example of a substitute for you, maybe even for you or your friends, are Coca-Cola and Pepsi. These are substitutes because what we can verify is that when the price of one good goes up, the demand for its substitute increases. If Coca-Cola gets more expensive, if the price of Coke rises, we see the demand for Pepsi go up. It shifts to the right. That tells us that these goods are substitutes. They might not be strong substitutes for you, but overall they're substitutes. Complements work in the opposite direction. Complements, for example, hot dogs and hot dog buns work like this. If the price of hot dogs rises, the demand for hot dog buns shifts to the left. That's a decrease in the demand for hot dog buns. So goods can either be substitutes or complements, or really independents. You wouldn't expect, for example, a change in the price of televisions to affect the demand for flowers. Those goods would be independent. But one of the things any business wants to know is what goods are complements to the good that I'm producing, what goods are substitutes, because a change in the price of those can affect the demand for your good. Okay? The next one that we're going to talk about on our list is income. Okay, back here to a couple of examples. We generally separate the relationship between income and demand into a couple of categories. The luxury normal good category and the inferior good category. If a good is a luxury or normal good, an increase in your income will cause the demand for that good to shift right, to increase. So it's a direct relationship. The difference between luxury goods and normal goods have to do with just how much that increase in demand happens. A normal good might be something like really good lunch meat at the grocery store. If your income increases, you might stop buying brand X bologna and buy nice rare roast beef to have for sandwiches for lunch. A better brand of gasoline might be a normal good for you. Okay? Inferior goods work in the opposite direction. For an inferior good, an increase in income causes a drop in demand. Demand falls. The demand curve shifts to the left. One of the most common examples for inferior goods for college students are those 10 or 12 cent packages of ramen noodles that you can buy in the grocery store. I'll often hear students saying that once their income rises, they will never, ever, ever buy ramen noodles again. So ramen noodles would be an inferior good because as income increases, demand shifts to the left. You might be thinking about various brands when you're thinking about the idea of inferior goods, and that's a really good thing if you are. You might buy the store brand for laundry detergent when you're not making a lot of money, but after you get your first real job or you make a little bit more money, you might shift to a well-known brand name like Tide. Tide would be a normal good. That other brand X laundry detergent would be an inferior good. Okay? So income, luxury goods, normal goods, and inferior goods. Okay? Let's finish off the list, which have a few more things to talk about here. Number 3 is tastes and preferences. Changes in taste and preferences can affect the demand for a good. Sometimes marketing folks separate these into short-term and long-term preference changes. Fads or fashions might be very short-term preference changes, like some of you might remember Pet Rocks from the 80s or Tickle Me Elmos from a little bit more recently. Those are taste and preference changes. There can also be long-term changes, like in the American economy, there's been a shift away from certain kinds of beef to more white meats like chicken and pork in consumption, a shift towards fish for health reasons. That's also a taste and preference change that can affect demand over more of a long-term basis. The weather can affect the demand curve for a good or service. A particularly rainy summer means that the demand for outdoor entertainment goes down. That might mean everything from a King's Dominion type park up near Washington, D.C., or something like your local swimming pool. If it rains 4 out of 5 days, you're going to see a decrease in the demand for those kinds of services, those kinds of experiences. Expectations is number 5. If you expect something to happen in the market for a good or service, that might change your demand for that good or service right now. in the sense that if you think that there's going to be a shortage in the future, you might demand and want to hoard a little bit right now. If you expect the price to go up in the future, you might decide to increase your demand for that product right now. And the last one is the number of buyers. We think about the demographic changes in the United States, particularly associated with the aging of the baby boomers. I'm one, part of that big group of people that were born between 1945 and about 1960. As various groups of people, whether it be the boomers or the Gen Xers or the Gen Y folks, age and move through their life cycles, there's a difference, a change in the amount of demand for certain products. For example, the leading edge of the baby boomers are right now approaching retirement. That means that you can expect a big increase in demand for a lot of goods that are associated with people retiring and getting older. For a while, that'll mean associations with increases in demands for retirement homes, those sorts of things. But as baby boomers age and become a little bit more susceptible to health problems, you'll see an increase in the demand for things like medical services, facilities that take care of people when they're really having problems with their health, those sorts of things. So the number of buyers in a particular demographic group will also affect the demand curve. Okay, so we've got 6 of them. Related goods like substitutes and complements, income, inferior goods, normal goods, and luxury goods, taste and preferences, those fads and fashions, the weather, expectations, and finally the number of buyers.